Hey, it's Empress Rose. Welcome to our collective reading. Starting off the reading, looking at my scrying ball, and then just some of the messages that came in between the meditation and turning this on. One of the messages was a little bit of light goes a long way. And then in my scrying ball, there was just this really sharp light way in the center there. It's interesting. I don't know if I'd ever seen it before. And then the other thing in my, so that just kind of underscored that message of a little bit of light goes a long way. And we can interpret light as like all the, truth or positivity, joy. I want to say like a star, like the star card, but actually like the sun card. But the star is a distant, small sun, right? It's a small, visually small sun. So that like hope in the distance, a little bit of hope goes a long way. A little bit of a spark can start a whole wildfire. Not sure that's a great metaphor, but it is a metaphor that probably has some part to play here. So, and then the other thing I saw was Jerry Garcia. In my ball, like there he was, Jerry Garcia. So maybe we'll have, I gotta fix that there, but maybe we'll have like a song, a Grateful Dead song coming through. I don't know, but maybe there'll be a little bit of truth coming out this week about Jerry Garcia. I don't know why he's in my scrying ball, but there he is, and he's here for the he's here for the duration. And it's interesting too, because at first I was like, is that a skeleton? And then that's like one of the Grateful Dead, they obviously played around with the imagery. So all right, what do we got here? Okay. And then there was a secret flippy over. Well, there were two. Oh, wow. This is a lot from this deck that sometimes doesn't even say anything. Whoa. Grandmother and mother. Family line. Oh my gosh. That is amazing. Anna, grandmother of Jesus, and then Star Mother. And I mean, wearing the classic Mary Magdalene blue there, not Mary Magdalene, Mary Mother of Jesus blue. Like, holy moly, people. And also there seems like Egypt, this grandmother one really seems to be speaking Middle East to me. Obviously a lot of news coming out of there, as always, my entire life. But there does seem to be like Promised Land, Holy Land kind of thing. I just cannot believe these two ladies came out, grandmother and a mother, ancestry. Maybe even talking very much about people that have passed on, about roles people play in our lives. And what's interesting too, let's say that you are this, your mother, your grandmother, your mother was born with all of the eggs in her ovaries that she will ever have. So the egg that became you, was in this grandmother. So there's this like really direct connections to that generation, and they live in you. They are you in the same way that you lived in your grandma. Not lived, but in the same way that half of you, what would become you, was seeded so long ago. Was in that egg, was in your mother was born with that egg, so your mother was in your grandmother with the egg that was going to become you. So yeah, in the same way that you were in them, they are in you, like physically, DNA, all of that. It's like this reciprocal relationship through the generations of them providing you with, and that these can be difficult conversations because not everybody, or the older I get, not anybody came from a good, and the older I get and the more I hear everyone's stories, I'm not sure who came from a perfect family, but most of us did not. So it can be really difficult to have discussions about our mothers and our grandmothers. Wow, I can't believe these two have never come out together. So, but let's talk about them as individuals as well, as part of this whole ancestry. And maybe that's really important to you this week, this ancestry, this historic record of your DNA, of where you came from. Maybe we're looking into that. Like, what are the beliefs? Like lately I've been looking at, like, what are the beliefs about money and work. And some of that's come through in these readings that I'm looking at, that I'm watching and understanding, and from generations, like how does that impact me? So, but let's talk about them as individuals. I mean, this is just so potent. I could go on for like the rest of the reading about the grandmother and the mother coming through here. You'll know what to do with it on your end. I'm just giving some suggestions. But Anna, grandmother of Jesus, seeding the light, laying foundations, divine plan. So plans being made, the foundation. Like if we want to talk about like Jesus here coming, we have grandmother. So, she has to do this, and then this person has to do that. So there's this whole line of responsibility, or chain of command, or chain of responsibility going on here. And one person, and maybe these are all you, but one person is making the plan. The other person is actually developing and growing the plan. This is also our Empress card here. So there's a plan afoot. And everything's, well, last week, didn't we have like helpers in the subtler realms or something like that? Or recently we did. And so this reminds me of that, is like this groundwork having been laid, foundation having been laid to build on, right? These are the blueprints. These are the blueprints, and this is, we're pouring the foundation, and then you're going to build your house. You're the house here. But first we had the blueprints, then we had the foundation, then we have you doing your thing. So laying the foundation, divine plan. And then this could also be like, how can you mother yourself, right? Because as I said, everybody comes from, and I think the difference is the willingness to look at that, and the willingness and the unwillingness to look at where you came from and what maybe you could improve on. Some of my least favorite moms I've met over the years are the ones that are like, I grew up just fine and it's perfect and everything was perfect and I'm just going to repeat everything. And just like, whew, that has not panned out very well. And kind of makes me cringe. But yeah, so taking care of yourself. So your mother, nobody's mother could give them everything that they needed, whether the mother tried hard or didn't try at all, whether the mother was a good sort of interpersonal match to the child or whatever. Just no matter how great it was, there's still some holes there. So nobody, was the perfect mother, and nobody had the perfect mother, because the idea of perfection doesn't really exist. It's just what is right for this person in this environment. And even if everything was really right, there's still some things. So take care of yourself in the way that you would have liked and imagined, in the way that you now know you needed to take care of yourself. So there is like DNA history. This is amazing. And just that the ancestral line, looking into that, something about that being very important. But there's also the plan, and then it's just the progression is interesting. And then these two came out. We have Pleiades, double mission, channeling and uplifting humanity. To me, this comes as like your tribe, your group, a discussion that's really positive, that's really uplifting, that gives everybody a bit of a boost, and everybody leaves it feeling really good. Like, so maybe that's something you need to instigate with your. Oh, this could also be the same person. Both, many people become our first mothers and then grandmothers. So maybe this is the same person too, and maybe you're both. Maybe you are a grandmother and you are a mother. I know some of you are, and so it could be the same person, but really taking care of yourself too in this. So anyway, really uplifting, positive conversation, which is bizarre because we have like my least favorite card in this deck, the ever unfolding rose. Whew, cracked open. It's happening for you, not to you. This is a great mantra. It's happening for you, not to you. Any difficult interactions this week, right? But we have this really positive interaction. Or maybe it's just a conversation. You need to take care of yourself. Oof, both of these together are talking about some kind of difficulty, and needing to take care of yourself, and needing to feel very like, ultimately this is what needs to happen for you. I'm not talking about like big giant tragedies. I'm talking about like the day-to-day stuff, or not the day-to-day, but the cycles we go through and stuff like that. Like, this is such a guard against victim mentality, which of course we are victims, but to stay there and have that become part of our identity is both somehow tempting and also something we need to work away from. So this is definitely the antidote to feeling sorry for yourself, which you can feel sorry for yourself. I always hate it when people are like, don't feel sorry for yourself. No, you should, right? We all have difficulties. Treat yourself just as well as you treat somebody else. You can have empathy for yourself. But try to remember, if something is happening that is really difficult, it's for you. It's part of what you're here to learn. Like, this is going to be helpful for you and your personal development. It's going to build character. How about that? It builds character. And then it is also saying, like, there is some safety. It's an uncomfortable opening, but it's okay. Like, and so it feels more psychological or something like that, a sort of cracking open of something. Keeping your heart open even in difficulty, and understanding that you are safe in difficulty. This is a sanctuary. This is a safe place. This is a sanctuary, but there's all this shifting here, and maybe some different understandings of the people that have gone before, of your ancestors, maybe some shifting understandings of your own history, but you are ultimately safe here. It's not an existential threat. It's an existential threat up here, but not an existential threat in the 3D, is what this card is telling me. But take care of yourself in it. Have compassion for yourself. Ooh. Those 4 cards said everything. I feel like maybe we should just end the reading. Like, that, they had everything. It's all right. I'm just gonna take one of these puppies. Oh, Little Miss Sunshine. This is really interesting because I started off this reading talking about a little bit of light goes a long way, and here we have Little Miss Sunshine. I just love this. Things are getting brighter, things are getting better, elevating, rising up. So maybe this difficulty has been happening to you, and you're through like self-care. And also I want to say that these two together make me feel like this is all part of a divine plan. There's divine plan, not maybe a human plan. Maybe it is part of a human plan, but a divine plan. Where you're opening up, you're realizing maybe some of your strengths, maybe strengths that you can see in your heritage, in where you came from and the people that begat you. But there is this like sense of this divine plan of you needing this growth right now, but taking care of yourself and having mad amounts of compassion for yourself. And then Little Miss Sunshine, it's just really interesting. Because for some reason this is reminding me of, many of you know, it was exactly a year ago that my niece passed. And yeah, and this is just with the grandmother and the mother and all of that. This feels right about that for me. Anyway, that's what's coming through here. So just being transparent in myself here and authentic. But look at these. Elevation. Both of these are about uplifting. Miss Sunshine and uplifting humanity. So there's this rising up, rising above. I almost want to say there's a transcendence here. And then with this self-compassion and this understanding that this was something here was always meant to happen this way. I don't want to talk about like big, the big scary things and the more difficult things, but I mean, maybe that's a conclusion people come to on their own about their own lives, but it's not something I feel comfortable telling other people, and it's not something I've ever enjoyed being told myself. So so that, oh, it was meant to happen, this was meant to be, or whatever. It's like, if you come to that place yourself, that's great. But I don't think it's right to tell other people that. So Miss Sunshine here, though, is this rising and maybe like getting a perspective, seeing something with some that you've had some difficulty with, getting some perspective, things getting better, lighter, brighter, just with that light I saw, and the little bit of light goes a long way. So Miss Sunshine rising up out of some sort of darker place that's been really difficult. And with these rising up, so either this is like a crash and a resurrection or something like that, or like a phoenix rising idea. But first we have the burning ashes of the situation, and then we have this like rising up and this opening up, and the phoenix rises again. So that's making me think that it's either a pretty quick cycle this week, or it's something you've already been through that's been really difficult and felt like you were hurt and harmed. You needed compassion, but it's all been part of a larger plan, and now we're rising above something. We're elevating above it, and maybe even learning some ideas and some facts this week about, whenever you find this week, about your ancestry, your history, something like that, and it could be rising up from a darker ancestral past. I know on both of my sides is pretty dark at a point. So rising up above, rising up, things getting lighter, easier to carry, easier to handle, uplifting conversations. Uplifting. There's some uplifting. Okay, and then for the tarot part, we're going to start off again. I love this new thing here. But for your environment, we're going to lay a groundwork for the environment with the Goddess deck. Boundaries. This is in your environment. Boundaries. Some fences. Some clear signs of don't go here, don't look there. Somebody else is setting boundaries, maybe with you or with somebody, and they need your support with that. This is Skaithak, our Scottish, I do like, I don't know, something maybe Scottish too here, and borders. It could be something about borders. It could be something about defending, and boundaries always, like good fences make good neighbors, so if someone's putting up a boundary with you and like, I don't want that, that is the only way to truly love them is to respect them. So, and boundaries, of course, are not about telling other people what to do. They're telling other people about what you're okay with and what you're not okay with. So somebody in your environment has some boundaries that they may be trying to communicate or hold, or it could literally be like fences, doors, locks, self-defense. It's not really, self-defense is that. It's just like, or someone saying stop or don't or no. It could be someone telling you no. We had this last week. Negotiation. Queen of Sheba. Again, this is your job. Negotiation, business, give and take, clever, being smart, reading the fine print. And maybe you get a big no and you need to like kind of negotiate that. Or this is like saying a little bit, like someone may be saying no or putting up a boundary, and it's something that can be discussed, that can be like, because normally like a boundary is like, well, no, and this could be about nationalities too, and citizenship. With Skaithak, I can see citizenship here too. So Queen of Sheba, negotiation, trying to figure something out, trying to get a win-win. And I like that we have the sun so prominently here. And it seems like it's improving, like there's a win-win. There's been a blockage, been a no, but I think that's a little mushy. Maybe someone or an organization has told you no in the past, or no, we're not going to do that. But it seems like it might be a little mushier than what they originally seemed to state. So we're moving now to Tiger Breathing Bears tarot deck. And from the bottom of the deck, Custodian of Arrows, we actually just had this last time I used this deck on this channel. Custodian of Arrows. Okay, well, This could be someone who's a little bitchy. And with Skathak here being like now, or, refusing to engage, refusing to interact with something that they find onerous. That doesn't mean you were onerous or you were difficult. It's just like whatever for them. So Custodian of Arrows, I think it really matches this, but in a little bit of a kind of ruder way maybe. But they have all the answers. They might be a know-it-all. Again, with last time, I'm not getting that this person's a know-it-all. I'm getting that this person is a know-it-some. This is their favorite class. This is what they excel at. They are an expert here. And they're very direct, but they don't pussyfoot around. And I'm getting that with Skathak. Skathak is just like, fuck no. It's not soft. You're bringing sort of the gentleness and the softness to a situation that might be a little bit harsh. And you might be talking to someone who has been harsh or just really direct. They may not think, I'm being harsh, let me lay down the law. They're just like, no, this. It could be someone who can be really difficult to work with, someone who might be a little annoying, somebody who always thinks they're right. They're right about everything, and those people, they talk very convincingly. I have definitely been taken in by someone who thinks they're right and has that in their tone. And it's like, okay, well, you must know. And then later I'm like, no, they don't. What? How did I? So this person may think they have all the answers. They think this is someone that you're working with and interacting with. And they may have had what to you might have felt like difficult conversations in the past. Past, present, inner landscape, what's at issue, environment, to-do list, possible outcome. Okay, and I have an accidental reversal. Since it's just one, we're going to take it. And then what's really funny is the other card I get in this deck all the time is here. 9 of Earth. You did your work. You did what needed to be done. And it is almost the grandmother energy too, of like, we laid the foundation. So I always, with this one, I feel like the housework's done. Can I go outside now? Can we go play now? Or when, like, it's still, you're stuck here. You're in place. You're not moving forward, but you've done everything you can here. So there's a little bit of a hanged man vibe with this one too. There's a waiting energy of like, well, I did my housework. I cleaned. I did my work first. Now I want to play. Like, so that's in the past. So you have accomplished something. A stage has been completed. This would be too like the blueprints having been made, having been done. Okay, and now we're ready for the next step. So that already happened. You've been ready for the next step in something. The groundwork has been laid for something, and you have accomplished something. You've learned things. You've grown. This is they call it the Empress in Waiting, and I love that it's a little black cat. Although my black cat is giant and male. But it is the Empress in Waiting. So it is that like, I am the thing I need to be. It's like you already graduated from college and you're looking for the job, or you're waiting for the job offer. Like, you have the skills now. You did what you needed to do. You did your part. You did your job. And now you're waiting for the world to answer that. And then we have 6 of Fire. Reverse. I'm just going to read the art on this card. You haven't won. It's been a dud. You're currently in, like, you lit the rocket and you stepped back, you ran away, and your fireworks are just not going off. They're duds. You did some sort of thing. So it's like you haven't gotten a response. You haven't gotten what you were wanting or expecting out of a situation. It feels like it's a bit of a dud. Yeah, that's the main thing coming through here is no victory, no winning. Right? We had 6 of Fire recently too, where it was like, something that would be a win-win for everybody. And this hasn't been a win-win. You're a catch. You went through college, did really well. You're a catch. You're out in the job market. You're putting yourself out there. Anybody would be an idiot to not pick you up and take you on because, you're prepared, you're ready, you're hungry for work, right? but nobody's taking you up on the offer. It's just been like, if you hired me or, if you dated me, we'd both win. We'd both get like the win-win. I'd win, I'd get what I need. You'd win, you'd get what you need. Like, it'd be a win-win. And so nobody's winning because I feel like nobody's like taking the bait, or like, we talked about like fishing the other day and someone nibbling but not biting. So that's what's happened is like, I think you're ready, and it's just been a bit of a dud. The situation has not been successful, a little bit dud-like. But you've done your work, or somebody here's done their work. It's just not taken off, or it's just not taken off. And it's not been very exciting at this point. Like, you were expecting a lot more. So your hopes, your fears, your inner landscape, 10 of arrows. When is this over? I am ready to be done with this painful experience. This can also be being a little bit concerned and worried that something's going to sink your ship. Again, the battleship idea of like, maybe worried that you're not going to be able to stay afloat. Maybe worried that you're having, like, maybe worried that people are talking behind your back, and maybe that's why you haven't made much progress. Here, worried about losses, full and total loss of something. And it being a spectacle, like a spectacular failure is what looks like. If this is addressing a fear, you're fearing perhaps being a spectacular failure in which everybody can watch you fail. If this is a hope, and I can read it both ways because the 10 is an end. So the hope here would be like, this difficult situation is finally going to come to an end. Yes, it's been a dud. It's been a snooze fest. I meant it to be exciting and interesting, but so far, and now you just kind of would like the end of this process to come and the final nail in the coffin. Okay, let's just move on. Like, all right, this isn't and so somehow the 10 of arrows talks about like an ending. That's because they ran out of ammo. So maybe people have been talking about you behind your back, and like hopefully that ends, and you're hopeful that that'll come to an end. They'll run out of ammo, they'll get bored, they'll move on, whatever. Like, that's what the hope is. So it can sit on both because it's right on the cusp of something changing and ending. So we're hopeful that it's going to end, but there's still some sort of fear that it could be a more spectacular end than a not spectacular end, than ending just because the situation's over. So it's a hope and a fear, I think. And 10 of arrows just sits right on that cusp of change, of something ending right before it begins. So, and maybe you're hoping to have some rest time before the next thing starts too. Some rest at the bottom here for a little while before the recovery. All right, and then what's that issue here? 8 of arrows. Okay, feeling trapped and stuck. Like they're trapped in a sleeping bag, but this is getting unstuck. So I see with this 6 of fire that it's been a dud, but you're not stuck. And there's a sense of seeing that. Like the bear is walking away. Again, we have arrows here. So the bear is like going to walk away. So it depicts a guy in a sleeping bag, sort of cocooned in a sleeping bag, arrows all around him. And now here comes danger. And what are they supposed to do now? Now what? So in the reverse, we have this like starting to realize things, starting to realize that there is an opening, there is a way. You can get out of a situation that has been less than satisfying, has been a bit of a dud. You can get out of the situation. You're not completely trapped, you're not completely stuck. There's a way out. And it's a head game, it's a head trip with 8 of arrows. It's about understanding, seeing the path forward, seeing the path out of a situation, seeing your way, seeing that you're not as stuck as you feel. So in the upright, it's like this mentality of like, I'm stuck. And this is like, wait, am I though? I might not be. I might not be as stuck as I feel. So there's a sense of like, I might be able to get out of this situation actually, in which I put so much work. So we're not doing like This reminds me of a sunk cost fallacy of just like, well, I've already, put in $2,000 into this. I should probably just put another 2,000, or, I've already put $20,000, or, oh, I bought this house and it's got so many problems, or I bought this business and it turns out it's got huge problems. And so I'm just going to pour money into it rather than like, yeah, no, I can see the writing on the wall. This is a no-win situation. I'm certainly not going to get anything out of it. Let's go. So even though you've already put a huge amount of effort into a situation, hoping for some results, it's fallen flat. If it has fallen flat, you're starting to see like, maybe I should kind of move on. I'm not stuck here. I can move on. So then we have your environment has some boundaries. Oh, this now is coming through as like natural boundaries of just like you've reached the limit. You can't go any further here. You've taken something as far as you can take it. And then begin of arrows. Ooh, this is not the first time this card, different decks, has shown up, but for me today. But so many arrows here. So this is about conversation, perhaps. Again, we have the Pleiades card here, about talking to someone. Begin of arrows. This is a student, someone who's just learning something. Maybe this is someone who's just learning about boundaries. And when anybody first starts learning about boundaries, how to have them, it can be a really clunky execution. Or learning about like limitations in a situation, learning about, limitations, something like that. Like starting to see, and someone here is starting to see and understand limits, and perhaps boundaries, perhaps what's behind something. They might be starting a conversation about it. They might be starting to understand something and wanting to talk about boundaries. Could be someone learning geography, or learning about citizenship. It's very personal. This person's like just discovering something, and they may not even be talking about it, but they're seeing something. They're seeing the limits of something, and they're learning about, they don't know where that's going, really. The boundaries, they don't know where it's going, but they're very curious and taking a closer look at something. Maybe they're being very respectful of boundaries, and they're wanting to take a closer look at something without necessarily crossing a bunch of lines or having or So your Queen of Sheba here is with Tiger Breathing Bear. I can't remember what card this is, but it's a negotiation. Maybe someone just wants to start a conversation, but like have really good parameters of what we are talking about, what we aren't talking about. Like, we're going to start talking about business or something, and it's like, okay, but this isn't going to work. This isn't what this relationship is. This is what this relationship is. This isn't what I'm looking for. This is what I'm looking for. They're just very clear on the job description or something like that, and they're sort of they're talking about it, but it could be just at the beginning of something. And Tiger Breathing Bear. All right, this is going to be a little longer because those first cards were so exciting. And also, I forgot to say, I haven't given myself a raise on my tarot readings for a while. So they're over on Etsy, but you can also email me, and I've got other ways of doing that if you don't do Etsy. But they're $65 now, but I'm going to raise them to $77 at the end of this week. I think like October 4th, October 5th, I'm just going to raise the price. I realize I haven't given myself a raise in years. And, I want to complain about other people not giving me raises. Despite the increases in cost of living. So I figured I should probably at least be the first to give myself a raise. So that's happening. So if you were interested and you want the $65 price point, you can go over to Etsy and get that ASAP. But otherwise, But if you want to give me $77 instead of $65, wait a week, okay? So anyway, so business. Queen of Sheba's strength here with the tiger breathing bear. We've got a bear, we've got tigers. And it's reminding me of lions and tigers and bears, oh my. And sort of these like kind of scary, overwhelming things. But it requires strength, it requires persistence. So what I think here, this 9 of Earth is our Empress in Waiting. It is her Widow Clicquot. Now, I really loved the book, her biography, but then they made a movie, and it's okay. It's good. It's a good movie in and of itself. There's a bunch of really fascinating details that, of course, had to be left out of the movie. But so that's what this is always reminds me of, the solo businesswoman, the businesswoman, you know, that's really innovative, really doing her own thing. She's only partway there. And it also reminds me of the Widow Clicquot because it's like we grew the grapes, we harvested the grapes, we smashed the grapes, and now we've got this whole other process that we're waiting on. And if we want to take this as metaphor, this is like the batch of champagne did not turn out. Yeah, the bubbly is not bubbly. So the batch of champagne didn't turn out on this one, but we might need to do more. So she's also the businesswoman, Queen of Sheba, right? This businesswoman who is so clever and so smart and hires all, and especially in her hiring capacity. So it takes a lot of strength for you to proceed with your business. It's like maybe the next step in this business, the next step in a business plan, the next step. And this could be like somebody that thinks they have boundaries with you or something like that. And they're just maybe learning about your business plan. Or this is negotiation with somebody. And it could be business or not business. But there's so many arrows here. It definitely seems like a conversation. You're going to have to be very strong in holding your ground and holding your boundaries. Someone may be trying to assert something. They may be even trying to breach your boundaries, and you're going to need to be incredibly strong to say what you need out of a situation. It might be hard for you to do for some reason in this particular situation to say what it is that you need, to speak up, to make sure that your needs are met. Again, going back to last week, like making sure your needs are met in this situation may be very hard for you. For some reason, you might struggle to claim your needs and to say what they are. And now I'm seeing like this could just be someone pushing your boundaries, somebody who has good boundaries, or someone who's like, but you're going to need to be strong in the face of this. And maybe even it's going to take, I can also see for somebody it being difficult to respect the boundaries. Someone just speaks up and says some boundaries, and you might have some difficulty respecting that. But it might be a little bit of a push for you. But the strength card has shown up multiple times. So we are having to negotiate things, and maybe even with a lot of self-control as well. A lot of self-control for some people. You know, everybody's different. Some people need to speak up for themselves more, and other people need to listen to other people's points of view more, right? So advice is not one size fits all. But so some of you may need to hold back, and some of you, the part where you're struggling with is speaking up. And some of you, the part where you're struggling with is like not blowing this whole thing out of the water. So the 3 of Flowers, friends. In the end, you're going to figure it out. Everybody's going to get along. There's friends here. Hanging out with friends. Yeah, if there's a business deal here, just make sure everybody's clear on like job description, pay, all of that is just crystal clear. Nothing's being left. And then we can all be friends, because good fences make good neighbors. So we're going to have some good neighbors, good neighbor relations. 3 of Flowers, hanging out with your friends and your buddies. It's a good time. You're gonna maybe even go to a gathering with friends, but you're gonna it might be like you're gonna need to negotiate your gathering, or like, oh no, I can't meet that day. Make sure you're saying like what works for you in this. And so it is like, let's go to your friends. We're gonna have a good time together, and it's gonna be really cool. But it is the concept of good fences make good neighbors, especially when someone here tends to be a little more aggressive, a little more pushy, is able to get their way a lot. Yeah. Or, you know, they just come in with a lot more clarity than everybody else, and it can take other people some time to catch up. So we're going to look at the flowers, the feathers here. The flowers, 3 of flowers, 3 of feathers. So, all right. Duck. Oh, that's a good one with the 3 of flowers at the end here. We have a duck feather. Find comfort and balance in simple ways. You have support all around you. So with the 3 of flowers, the duck, this is definitely about domesticity and domestic. Thank you, Jack, for adding to this. Domesticity. And ducks, I swear, when I come back, I want to come back as a duck. They just seem to have such a beautiful life. Of course, I do go to a duck refuge around here a lot, and I just like to watch them. It's just this, there's a simplicity to their lives that I just absolutely love. So when I pass and you see a duck, it'll be me enjoying myself. So enjoying my new life as a simple duck on some simple water with simple mating rituals and simple. So you have support all around you. And this we have definitely seen repeatedly over the last couple weeks. You have support all around you. Do not think you are alone here. So, and I love it with the 3 of flowers, like friends. Simple, easy relationships. All right, and then Wild Kuan Yin here. It's never too late. Oh, especially with this having been a dud in the past, that the next phase, you can do it. If you've forgotten who you are, know that your true self has not gone away and never will. Underneath every layer of conditioning, under all twisting and turning and trying to fit into some shape to please others, your true self remains true, ready and waiting to rise up in original gorgeousness and glory. It's never too late for you to choose to be you. I feel like that's a lot of this. Like, be strong enough to get what you need out of a business thing. It's never too late to be you. It can feel too late. Oh, look, we got sunflowers here too. Something about friendship. And it's not too late to be friends with somebody, perhaps. It's not too late to be friends. Things are lightening up, right? It's rising. And we have the grandmother here and the grandmother here. So there's something about that. And the sunflowers and the grandmother and the dragonflies and the beach. There's a beach here? Those aren't usually beaches in these cards. Some opportunity that you think may have passed you by is not. It's not. It does seem like there's a conversation here about roles and boundaries and what people's expectations are. Yeah, with the Pleiades card too. And then this sunflowers, the sunshine, things will get simpler as you communicate. So clear communication. It's never too late. You can go back to something that you thought was once lost. You won't be able to pick up where you left off, but you will be able to pick it up again. All right, I hope that that's helpful for you. Thank you for being here. See you guys later. Bye.